Welcome, dear listener, you brave soul, to Whispers in the Dark. Prepare yourself, then, for a journey into the depths of the unspoken. Draw the curtains, dim the lights, and I recommend headphones. If you are truly brave enough, you may choose to subscribe to Whispers in the Dark. It is a simple pact between us. The Echo Collector. Elias. That was his name. A sound engineer, an artist of the unseen. For years, his passion had been the hunt for silence, for perfect ambient soundscapes, the hum of a forgotten building, the breath of a quiet forest, the very texture of emptiness. He recorded everything. Or so he thought. It arrived anonymously, in email. No subject, no sender, just a single attachment. Ambient_room.wave. Elias, ever curious, ever cautious, opened it. He expected static, or a virus. What he heard froze him. He recognized it instantly. His bedroom. The precise creak of the floorboard by his dresser, the faint hum of his old alarm clock, and in the foreground, unmistakably, the soft, rhythmic thump-thump of his own heart. A perfect recording from last night, from 3 a.m., when he was alone and asleep. His hands, which had been so steady adjusting his delicate microphones, now trembled uncontrollably. Who recorded it? How? His apartment was locked. No one had a key. No one knew his habits. The email account vanished the moment he tried to trace it. He tried to rationalize it. A hidden bug? A dream? But the audio was too real, too perfect. He replayed it again and again. Each listen brought a new wave of cold dread, because the sound was so intimate, so invasive. And with every replay, he couldn't shake the terrifying thought. Someone else was listening. Someone had been in his silence, collecting. And if you dare to hear how the echoes of a life can be stolen, subscribe to Whispers in the Dark. Because some collectors don't collect things, they collect you. The first recording, the one from his bedroom, Elias tried to forget it, to write it off as a one-time anomaly, a glitch, a cruel joke. But the collector, it was just getting started. The next file arrived precisely 24 hours later. Titled morning_ritual.wave. Elias opened it, heard the distinctive clink of his coffee mug, the soft drip, drip, drip of his coffee maker. A perfect recording of his kitchen from precisely 6:17 a.m., an angle that defied logic. From inside his pantry, from behind the coffee machine, the quality was pristine, too pristine. Then came commute_echoes.wave, a recording from inside his car, his specific route to work, the unique squeak of his passenger seat, a snippet of a private phone conversation he'd had, muffled but undeniably his voice. The files piled up. shower_harmony.wave, the distinct sound of water hitting his shower tiles, and a soft, humming vocalization he sometimes made when alone. Fridge_whispers.wave, the precise whine of his old refrigerator, overlaid with the rustle of food packaging. Every file a perfect sonic snapshot of his most private moments. He looked for hidden microphones. He swept his apartment with bug detectors. He tore apart his car's interior. Nothing. No devices, no wires, no transmitters, He contacted his friends, convinced it was an elaborate prank, a technological marvel he couldn't comprehend. They laughed. They dismissed it, but the files kept coming. Relentless. Meticulous. Each one a fragment of his stolen life. And slowly, agonizingly, the truth began to sink in. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't a friend. Someone was collecting his life. Not his images, not his whispers, but his sounds. Every subtle nuance, every private echo, and they were listening. Always listening, right outside his silence. Right inside it. The recordings became impossible. Not just sounds from his life, sounds from his mind. The collector wasn't just observing. It was listening to thoughts, to moments that existed only within his own skull. Focused_resonance.wave, the title of the next file. It was a recording from his soundproof studio. The only sound? The soft, almost inaudible humming he made only when calibrating his most sensitive microphones. A habit he wasn't even consciously aware of. Then came silent_contemplation.wave, a recording of his apartment at 4 a.m. when he was simply lying awake, thinking. The sound of his own silent thoughts somehow captured. The click of his jaw, the faint rustle of his blankets as he turned over. The utter impossibility of it screamed in his mind. And then, the signature at the end of every recording. Always a low, unnerving tone. Too perfect, too sustained. It wasn't a hum, it was a single, pure note, a signature. As if the collector was signing its artwork, and it always felt like it resonated inside Elias' skull, long after the file ended. He tried to mimic it, to find its pitch, but it defied all known frequencies. It was alien, and it was personal. Elias' world shrunk. His apartment, once a sanctuary of silence, became a cage of paranoia. He couldn't trust the quiet, couldn't trust his own thoughts. He covered his windows, jammed towels under his doors. He whispered to himself, trying to mask his own sounds, knowing it was useless. Every creak of his floorboards, every distant siren, every breath he took felt like a new data point for the collector. Because the collector wasn't just listening to him, it was listening through him. And its signature was a chilling reminder. This was a masterpiece, and Elias was the subject. Forever. The signature. The constant, insidious tone. It wasn't just a mark, it was a taunt. The collector was everywhere. In his phone, in his thoughts, in his very breath. Elias had to fight back. He had to find silence. He had to find it. He turned his apartment into a fortress of sound. Blankets over windows, towels under doors. He set up his own surveillance. Tiny omnidirectional microphones in every corner. Motion sensors. Infrared cameras pointing inward. He wanted to catch it, to prove it was real. He wanted silence. He waited. In the dark, for days. He tried to sleep. And that's when it began. A whisper. Not from a recording, from the walls. A faint, layered murmur. Just beyond the edge of hearing. He'd bolt upright, heart hammering, grab his recording device. But the moment he listened, it vanished. Only the perfect, oppressive quiet of his soundproofed apartment and that unnerving, low hum. Always. He checked the camera feeds. Days of empty, static footage. Until 3:47 a.m., the exact time the strange sounds always started. The camera in his living room, it showed nothing. Just the still, empty room. And then he saw it. A single dark strand. Thin, almost invisible. It appeared on the edge of the frame. It moved slowly, delicately, in a perfect horizontal line from the left side of the screen to the right. And then it vanished. It wasn't a string. It wasn't a cobweb. It was perfectly straight, perfectly controlled. It had passed directly in front of his lens, inside his locked apartment. It was in here. It saw me watching. It was inside. The terror of the collector's presence in his room, it consumed him. Every shadow held a microphone. Every quiet breath a recording. But the sheer why of it, the purpose, that remained a terrifying enigma until the email arrived, his final chilling revelation. The subject line simply read, "Your life, a symphony." The attachment, a single long audio file. Final_composition.wave. Elias didn't want to open it. He knew it would break him. But the compulsion, it was overwhelming. He clicked, and the sounds filled the studio. It was his life, his entire life. Every significant sound, every private moment, his childhood laughter, distorted, interwoven with the distant sirens of his youth, the specific rustle of his first love's dress, perfectly matched to the rhythmic thump-thump of his own teenage heart, the quiet hum of his recording studio, now accompanied by the faint, agonizing squeal of his recent paranoia. It was flawless, a perfect composition, and he was every note, every beat, every painful crescendo. This wasn't just surveillance. This wasn't stalking. The collector wasn't merely listening. It was composing. Elias's entire existence was raw material, his life a living score, and he realized with a profound, sickening clarity that the collector wasn't interested in him. It was interested in the music, the perfect, intimate symphony of his fear, his vulnerability, his eventual descent. He was the instrument, and the collector was the conductor, and the piece, it wasn't finished. His life was a performance, and the final movement was about to begin. The performance had begun. There was no escape. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of wind outside his window, even the frantic beat of his own heart, they were all being woven into the collector's final movement. Elias tried to fight it. He tried to reclaim his silence, his privacy, but it was futile. Every attempt to disrupt the collector's symphony only added a new discordant note. He tried to find the source. He tore apart his studio, ripped out wires, sealed vents, silenced every possible sound. But the symphony, it continued. The dripping water, a rhythm he couldn't place, growing louder, more insistent. It wasn't real. It couldn't be. And then he heard it, not through a speaker, not from a hidden device, but from him. The echoes of his own life. The collector's symphony, were now playing inside his mind. His childhood laughter, his first love's dress, his agonizing paranoia. They weren't just sounds, but memories, replaying, twisting, intertwining with the phantom drip. He was the instrument, yes, but now he was also the soundboard. The symphony wasn't just around him, it was within him. The ringing, it was the final note, the crescendo that broke him. When it faded, the symphony was gone. The echoes, they were gone. All that remained was the silence. Not the profound silence like before, nor the suffocating silence. This was a new silence, a hollow, empty silence. He realized, with a clarity colder than ice, that the collector hadn't just composed his life. It had extracted it, drained it of every sound, every memory, every last echo, leaving nothing behind but the silence. His life was the symphony, and now the performance was over, and he was no longer even an instrument, just an empty space. A final, silent movement in a masterpiece that had consumed him whole. Months passed. Elias's studio, once a vibrant canvas of sound, remained untouched. An ossuary of silence. No one came looking. No one ever truly noticed his absence. For the collector, a single movement of a symphony was complete. But the orchestra, it was vast. The art was never about Elias. He was simply a masterpiece in a grand collection, a single, exquisite piece, painstakingly crafted, now stored away in the collector's endless vault of echoes. But true artists rarely stop at just one work. Their ambition knows no bounds. Their need for expression is insatiable. Somewhere, in another city, in another studio, another life was unfolding, unaware, unsuspecting. A fresh score was being composed. The first tentative notes of a brand new symphony already being drawn into the collector's endless, hungry embrace. The silence Elias found was not an end, but merely a transition. For the collector, the music, it would always continue. In the final movement, it was always just beginning. The echo collector was never just a singular entity. It was an insatiable appetite. And the world, it was the endless composition waiting to be played. If your sanity remains intact, hit subscribe below to complete the pact, to hear more whispers in the dark.